Welcome to another in our series of Unpacking Telematics. This is brought to you by Netstar, a subsidiary of the Altron Group, and in partnership with FleetWatch magazine. My name is Patrick O'Leary, I'm managing editor of FleetWatch, and today we're going to be focusing on the subject, the benefits of onboard cameras in risk mitigation. And in the studio with me, I have Mark Saunders, product manager of Netstar. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you, Patrick. Good to be here.
Great to have you here. And Mark, this is such a topical subject. And in my opinion, arguably one of the finest developments in the telematics arena has been the onboard camera in mitigating risks. In the past, every crash was automatically blamed on the truck.
Yep.
The camera has taken that away. You have real-time video evidence and that. But it holds huge potential benefits apart from just providing proof of crash liability, but for operators and indeed for drivers. Lead us through a little bit about it. When did it start? Onboard cameras, risk mitigation,
Sure.
How does it all pack in?
I can recall probably 7 years ago we introduced our first camera solution. And that type of camera solution is probably known as an analog HD, analog high definition type of camera solution. No artificial intelligence in the system at all. Really, it's just recording for as long as the device has power, recording from all the different cameras that you have installed in the vehicle, and storing that information for when it's needed. So that is sort of seen or termed as a reactive kind of solution, because you only go and look at the video footage if something's happened.
Historical information.
Correct. Or, if there's been some sort of incident and you want to try and validate whether the incident was true or not, or collaborate evidence for that particular situation. So it was a reactive situation, and there was nothing more to it than that. But the benefit of that was that it was almost like putting a fleet manager or a vehicle owner inside the cab or on the scene of an incident. So you visually can see what transpires during an accident or an incident. When you have a look at telematics data on its own, harsh braking, harsh acceleration, speed, directional travel, you can't picture exactly the context of that situation. You see signals in the telematics data, you see speed, you see harsh braking, etc. But you don't know whether a car swerved in front of the driver or whether there was a major pothole that he tried to avoid or whatever the situation is. So the power of video was that it's like a studio. It literally puts a fleet manager or a person right in the cab, right in the scene, and it gives them a visual perspective of all the cameras that are installed in that vehicle. So that was the power, and it was really used, as I said, for incidents and accidents, but also where there are liability claims perhaps lodged by other companies against your driver. They can go back into that historical evidence and try and see whether that is a valid claim or not. Very often when companies submit claims, the proof of video evidence supports that claim. And obviously it either shows that the driver was at fault or in many cases wasn't at fault and tried to avoid an incident and there was an accident. So yes. That kind of information you just can't always detect very easily from telematic data. So that was essentially the power. We've moved on now. In the last couple of years, artificial intelligence has gained traction in the camera solution market. And artificial intelligence is...
Just define artificial intelligence first, if you can, in a short...
Yeah, so it's really algorithms that are written and machines train the algorithm to detect certain things. So, for example, let's take a case of distraction. So hours and hours of video footage showing a person looking down at their cell phone, etc., is used to train that algorithm to detect certain facial features, certain facial positions. That is artificial intelligence, and there's different levels of artificial intelligence. But artificial intelligence is coupled with machine learning, and that's the learning part where you teach the algorithm to detect new things. So as the algorithm matures, you're feeding it more and more of the edge cases to allow it to learn different things. So it detects what it learns, right? And that's artificial intelligence.
Awesome.
Simply put. So this is now really gaining a lot of traction in our markets. And in terms of computing in the world, artificial intelligence is a massively expanding industry.
So when we're talking about the in-cab camera, one mustn't think anymore of just the camera taking a video or taking a photograph.
Most
can use afterwards.
Correct, Patrick. Most of the solutions that are offered today are artificial intelligence enabled because it gives you a host of additional benefits.
Okay, let's look at
so let's explore that and unpack that a little bit. So we've spoken about the analog HD solutions. So the artificial intelligence enabled solutions are also recording video, right? So you get that benefit still. But what additional benefits you get is these algorithms that are detecting things like fatigue. Okay. And we know that fatigue in the trucking industry, in the fleet industry, is an issue. It's a problem. It's a big contributor to accidents. Things like distraction, whether it's looking away from the road, speaking to someone in the cab, whether it's looking at your cell phone. Distraction is another leading cause for accidents.
Yes. Cell
phone usage, talking on a cell phone is another one of the key components of accidents, in addition to speeding, etc. So when you've got cameras that are looking at a driver's face, cameras that are looking towards the road in front of the vehicle, you're now using these algorithms to detect certain conditions and warning the driver right in the cab when there's signs of fatigue. So yawning is normally a precursor to fatigue. Eyes drooping, drowsiness, and nodding of the head are the early signs of fatigue.
Mark, could I just interrupt 1 second there? Because we've been talking also about big data. Now, you are getting information from your in-cab cameras, not just from my truck as mine, looking at me as a driver, but from all your clients.
Yep.
It goes into a machine, all those videos. I'm just trying to make this simple. Goes into all that, and somehow those machines are trained, and through AI, we're not going to get it. I'm not going to pretend I understand the whole thing, but through AI, I'm getting the benefits of outcomes from a number of different trucks, from thousands of trucks, all your clients.
Correct.
And that then comes up with some kind of a solution or some kind of a warning bell, a predictive...
So that's what I was going to get to. So it starts with AI. All this data is collected in what you've termed big data repositories. So there's masses of telematics data, there's masses of videos, there's masses of digital images or snapshots as we call them, and the ability to mine that data to start predicting certain things is now the future. So that's called predictive analytics. So you're taking trends, you're looking at behaviors that lead towards accidents, for example. So there's specific behavioral signs that show fatigue, that show distraction. And over a period of time, you're seeing that fatigue, distraction, and cell phone usages are the key contributors in most of the accidents that you've recorded in your big data repository. So now you can do a trend analysis on that and see over a period of time how common were these three factors in the accidents that have been reported over that period of time. And you start to see, well, if this happens on a regular basis, the probability of an accident, if these triggers are triggered over a period of time, the probability is relatively high that driver is going to have an accident if those behaviors are not corrected. So it's enhancing the power of artificial intelligence to start predicting things. And why do we want to predict things? Because we want to avoid things.
Yes.
You want to avoid accidents, you want to avoid damage to vehicles. But it's not just, the driver and the vehicle safety aspects and efficiencies in fleets. What you're also trying to do is it's all about corporate social responsibility. You're trying to improve drivers' behavior. And the only way to improve a driver's behavior, if you're not coaching them on a regular basis, is by giving them notification of bad habits in the cab as they occur, and then reinforcing it with the evidence of those bad habits post the trip. But better than that, if you've got the ability to predict, based on historical evidence, predict something is going to happen in the future, you can start changing his behavior before anything happens, and avoid as much as possible that incident occurring. So that's the exciting part.
That sounds very exciting. You know why I say that, Mark? Because in the past, sometimes the drivers looked at as a camera, as a policeman.
Yep.
And they had a lot of problems. There's also some privacy,
privacy
issues that are still around, but we'll come to that. But now the driver, you're talking about predicting behavior, preventing what could have happened. I think what is really nice here is that the driver, when you get him around the table and say, okay, we're gonna improve your behavior now. We're gonna show you what you did. But it's not only what he's doing, it's what many drivers do. So it's not just saying you are the bad guy. You're saying this is a trend that we have picked up through 1,000 drivers.
Correct.
And you are part of that trend, but you're not the only one, my friend. We've got to change it. So you take a guilt sort of factor or a policeman factor off him, and he's becoming part of the industry, of a holistic part of the industry. And that would motivate, I would imagine, the guy more towards improving than to be, I'm being policed.
Correct. So you've raised a number of interesting and important points here, Patrick. So let's take a step back and look at the one. The one is, imagine a scenario where you're employing a new driver. If you have insight into what causes accidents, you can already start coaching that driver before he drives your vehicles. You can start highlighting the issues that he needs to start taking into consideration for whatever reasons that you lay out to them.
And also issues along his particular route.
Correct. And bringing in training interventions, coaching interventions, even before he's got into your truck or in the early stages of him driving your truck. Many of the bad habits we have, we are not always consciously aware of them. You know, they are just things that have crept in over years of driving, and you get naughty, you get lazy, you know. It's not that you're a bad person, it's just part of human nature, you know. And there's a lot of other factors that are involved in it. So I think one of the important aspects, moving on to some of the other points that you raised, one of the important aspects of any of these kind of solutions where you're trying to change behavior, because that's really what you want to do with artificial intelligence in a camera solution, is change driver behavior. So if you're trying to change behavior, we all know if you're dealing with children, you're dealing with animals, what works is incentive, is reward, right? It's not just the stick.
Yes.
A stick doesn't necessarily bring about corrected behavior. It can also bring about anger, animosity, can cause drivers to leave your company. But if you're mining that data with a view to encouraging your drivers to change behaviors because it's safer for them, it'll save their lives, but it'll also, you know, bring in efficiencies in your operating fleet. But besides that, if they know that there is a reward at the end of the day for them improving their behavior, the likelihood of them buying into that program is greater. And I think this is something that's really, really important. Anything in life, you know, if you don't use it, if you don't mine it, you don't take advantage of it, you're not going to get the full benefit of it. So why pay for an AI system if you don't implement the programs around it to support that intervention? You know?
What I'm hearing here is it's taking away, or has a potential, if used properly, to take away the them and us, the drivers and the management, and put everybody on the same team, using actual information to, one, make the driver safe, two, make the company profitable, and three, overall public safe on the road, overall safety on the road.
Correct. I mean, we all want to be better drivers, right? Why? Because we want to stay alive.
Yeah,
hopefully, you know, we want to stay alive. So especially in larger vehicles. I think their driving conditions on roads and the conditions of our roads in some instances, we're dealing with very big vehicles that have a lot of force behind them, and they've got to know how to drive properly. And I think this is part of the intervention, but there's a lot more. I think one of the other things that the AI system is doing is it's showing certain behaviors. It's showing up behaviors that are common in a driver, behaviors that contribute to accidents and incidents. And there are other interventions that you could possibly employ rather than just coaching post-trip. There are maybe training videos where you show specific courses around specific interventions that driver needs. There are other things like simulators maybe, where you are now encouraging the driver to engage in situations that you can't normally train a driver for in a live vehicle. So this, I think, is the greater area of artificial intelligence camera solutions, if we want to call it that. Is all these supporting interventions that improve a driver's behavior. And I think incentive reward is a key component of this.
So just in summing up, we moved far away from just a recording of an incident or a crash, which is traditionally how cameras have been viewed.
Correct.
Into full new era of using this as your driver coach almost.
Correct.
A driver trainer, taking the camera way beyond its traditional sort of perceived role into driver training, improving efficiencies, improving productivity, improving profit, improving motivation, improving the chaos in a company.
Absolutely.
Bringing it to you. So the camera is not just there to click a button and take a picture.
It's not just this policeman.
The
silent policeman. Yeah, it's actually a partner. You can look at it as a partner, a coach, a mentor. Something that adds value, adds benefit, not just to the company, but to human beings.
Mark, just to sum up on that one, to a quick ending, can you help me as an operator get all those benefits? Because I'm not going to know all those. Can you send someone to me and just show me how to?
Yeah, so that's probably the kind of relationship that you want to engage with, in a long-term view of a relationship with a customer, is to show them how this evidence is displayed in the software applications that you have available, but then how to mine this information and how to use this information. And I think in conjunction with other partners, people that are, for example, specialist driving coaches in this industry, if you partner with them and engage with training interventions and create a collaborative partnership, that's when you extract the power.
Wonderful. So a partnership is the word that's coming out.
Yeah, look, we're all specialists in our field.
Yes.
We can't all do everything, but I think if we look at this solution and the benefits that it offers and how we can supplement that with other services, that's when you extract maximum benefit. And I think that's really what it's all about.
Maximum benefit using the tools that are available through telematics. And that is Mark Saunders telling us how cameras are no longer, you don't just click a button, it's not your cell phone, where you quickly take a quick selfie or something. You can get so much more information. And Mark, we encourage you all to embrace this partnership concept. It's new. It hasn't been embraced in the industry. It's not a package, an off-the-shelf package, telematics. It's a partnership of interaction with people using AI, big data, R&D development within your organization, all for your benefit. And, of course, for the benefit of road safety, which South Africa has a dismal record of. So, Mark, thank you so much for sharing that information with us.
Thanks for having me.
Great. God bless you.